episode of Made in America is brought to you by America's Inventorly and Home Talk USA. Home Talk is a proud member of the King's Broadcasting Network, which has been bringing you the best in home-based innovation since 1998.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us for this episode of Made in America.
This segment is brought to you by the law offices of R.P. Baraska. RPB law offices have been bringing corporate-level legal expertise to the independent inventor community for more than 20 years. For all your inventing legal needs, trust rpblawoffices.com.
For years, hardworking American citizens were forced to sit on the sidelines as other nations got rich and powerful, much of it at our expense. But now it's our turn to prosper, and in so doing, use trillions and trillions of dollars to reduce our taxes and pay down our national debt, and it'll all happen very quickly. We are finally going to be able to make America great again, greater than ever before. Jobs and factories will come roaring back into our country, and you see it happening already. We will supercharge our domestic industrial base. We will pry open foreign markets and break down foreign trade barriers. And ultimately, more production at home will mean stronger competition and lower prices for consumers. This will be indeed the golden age of America. It's coming back, and we're going to come back very strongly.
This is the Chairman's Countdown with your host, Zach Mottl, Chairman of the Coalition for a Prosperous America. Count down with us as we explore trade, tariffs, and industrial strategy with the leaders driving America's prosperity and security.
Hello. I want to welcome you to the Chairman's Countdown with Zach Mottl. I'm your host, Chairman of the Coalition for a Prosperous America, Zach Mottl. And here today I've got our CEO, John Toomey from the Coalition for a Prosperous America, and we're coming to you live on Home Talk USA Radio. Don't forget, we're also streaming live at hometalkusa.com as we broadcast all around America. Today, we've got a great show lined up for you. I'm really excited, and we're going to have a focus on Florida. It's a manufacturing powerhouse growing more so every day, and it's participating in America's industrial resurgence. This is something we're seeing all across America with companies, manufacturers coming back here, creating good jobs. But Florida's been unique, and Florida as a state has set a particularly good table for manufacturers and companies to come and employ people. We're going to be joined later on by Congressman Aaron Bean. He represents Florida's 4th District, which includes areas like Jacksonville, Amelia Island, and the Port of Jacksonville. And the congressman serves on the Ways and Means Committee. If you don't know about it, it's one of Congress's most important committees. It's an A-list committee. And what they have jurisdiction over are the things that we talk about here on the show all the time: taxation, trade, and tariffs. CPA proudly supported his appointment to this committee because he's been a constant champion for domestic producers and American workers. And in that role on Ways and Means, he can help us even more. So it's my honor. Without further delay, we'll bring on Representative Bean. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for being such a champion for our job producers and our American producers here in America. You know, your district is kind of unique. It blends some major logistics. You know, you've got the Port of Jacksonville there, which I've seen myself when I visited, and you've got some strong manufacturing employers. You know, a lot of manufacturers, transportation and logistics is important to us. You know, what are you hearing? Tell us more about your district and what you're hearing from those businesses about the trade, the tariffs, and supply chains, all that kind of good stuff.
Zach, it's great to be with you. First of all, honor. It's my first time. I shouldn't say that's my first time being with you. And how about you got Chairman John Toomey with you as well? I want to correct you. One thing. You said Ways and Means is one of the top committees. Just to be clear, it is the top committee. It is everything tax, tariff, and trade. It's the committee listed in the Constitution. Everybody wants to be on it, and it's the hardest to get on. And we won the lottery a little bit. I say that. We busted our tail to get there, but it has been a whirlwind activity, and we're going to talk about that as it comes up. I'm living the dream. I didn't know that I was going to run for Congress so soon. So 3 years ago, a new seat opened up, and I threw the dice. My partner is my wife. And I made a deal with her that we're going to go all in, and we're either going to, go the Congress route or we'll do something different. But we'll know. It was a relatively short race. It was a 6-month race just because of the nature of the seat came out late. So living the dream. I have a financial background. I was a bank president for a while. I've run several small business, including I used to own a putt-putt, and that's how John Toomey and I crossed paths this past week. So I've done a lot, sold real estate, sold insurance, you name it. Seems like I've done it for a while to feed the family. So I've also spent a lot of time in the Florida legislature leading up to this Congress run. And so did a lot of work in healthcare. And I think Florida right now is the envy of every other state. Every other state right now is because we've got our financial house in order. And
You thought about sitting here in Illinois, and I'm jealous, Congressman.
yeah, so my heart aches for you and people of Chicago, your governor that is tone deaf right now. I think they're living in the governor's mansion and not walking the streets right now. So it's a very, very scary place, and welcome to health. But back to your question, the district is great. It's Northeast Florida. It's Greater Jacksonville. Go Jags. We had just an amazing game the other night, defied all odds and beat the Chiefs. So that was something. But we've got heavy manufacturing in Jacksonville, including corrugated cardboard. RYAM is here making cellulose. We've got really the gateway, one of the leading ports in the Southeast. And so all that blended together makes for a lot, of course, with tourism. So it's a lively economy. We want to keep it humming and just make sure government stays out of the way the best we can. Keep it a nice place to live, work, and play. And that's our mission every day. What can we do to help grow our economy, put people to work so they can put food on the table?
It's refreshing to hear that, Congressman, and your perspective as a small business owner and as a banker who supported and worked with businesses, saw their financials, did lending to them, took risks, and went to bat for businesses when they need it. I so appreciate that perspective, and we need more people like that representing us. Again, I mentioned what I see in Illinois, and it's higher taxes. They see me as a means to collect money, as opposed to how can we help you create jobs and things like that. And so refreshing to hear that perspective. You and I, it must have been a couple months ago, we toured together Wire Mesh Company in your district, a WMC company making wire mesh. They're part of Optimus Steel, and they're a fantastic company. They're a CPA member, and this is a company, a family-run business that's investing in America, in plants all around America, including in your district. What did you take away from that visit when we saw that factory together there?
It was a great day, wasn't it? Dynamite. It was dynamite for that to be made in America, and holy cow, it goes into everything. Wire mesh, from our roads to condominiums to construction. It was a delight to see, and just everybody was fired up to make the product. I love it. I want to help them. I want to help them grow, because if we can grow our economy, America is going to need more wire mesh. And so that's the way we can make that happen. But they really put the red carpet out for us, Zach. Thanks for you. And of course, Chairman of the Board, John Toomey, for pulling the strings to put out the red carpet for us.
John's the CEO. I'm the chairman, but he's actually doing the hard work. I get the fun stuff. I get to come and fly in with you, Congressman. We have fun together.
Tinfoil.
No, it's good. It's good. But, what we saw too, a lot of jobs there. That was what excited me. Those workers, you were right. They were excited to be there and they were making great products all over America and they were getting paid a good wage to do it. So, I mean, that's what we want to do more of. And with your help, we're going to do that. But we've got to take a quick break coming up here. John, besides playing putt golf and going to games and stuff, you're also a leader as the CEO of the Coalition for Prosperous America. You're a leader in bringing manufacturing jobs and good businesses back to America. I also know you spend a lot of time in Florida with our members and you see what's going on. Tell us a little bit more, from your perspective of what you see going on in Florida and the Congressman's district regarding the growing industrial base and our member presence in that region.
Yeah, thanks, Zach. No, it's an absolute boom time right now, right? I mean, when you look at the jobs and the manufacturing that's pouring into the state, and you talk to the governor's office, the Secretary of State, Alex Kelly, they're very excited about these projects, some of which they've announced in the Congressman's district, from robotics, production, you name it, energy. It's incredible the growth that we're seeing in Florida. A good friend of mine, Bill Posey, who retired last Congress, his district used to be called the Space Coast, and then they called it the Comeback Coast because there's so much manufacturing moving into the area. So, Congressman, tell us. I mean, it's amazing. People don't associate manufacturing with Florida. They think, tourism, vacation, Disney, but really the amount of production that's coming out of the state is quite remarkable.
It is. No, it's because we put out the red carpet. We're going to make it happen. And you mentioned Alex Kelly. John Toomey, let me blow your mind. Let me blow your mind. In 2000, in the year 2000, I was first elected. I was a kid too, but in 2000, elected to the Florida House of Representatives. I had to hire my first person, my legislative assistant. I hired a kid directly out of the University of Florida. It was his first job. It was Alex Kelly. How about that? Alex Kelly in the year 2000. I knew we had potential to do things. Now he leads one of our big agencies to bring business in. So if you think you might want to come to Florida, Alex is the guy to talk to, and we will hopefully make it easy. Make it easy instead of making it hard, especially if you're going to be hiring people. That's what we want. We want jobs.
We're going to help you, Congressman. I'm buying from businesses in Florida, and I'm shipping product to customers in Florida as well. So we're part of your supply chain on both ends. But anyway, we've got to take a quick break here. If any of you listening happen to miss a show, we archive our shows. They're available on demand at hometalkusa.com. You can learn more about our work at prosperousamerica.org. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this short break.
This segment is brought to you by SearchQuest Patent Search. SearchQuest provides for a comprehensive patent search that searches the entire world and not just the U.S. Patent Office. Make sure that before you spend those big bucks having a patent written, you've done your due diligence by getting a comprehensive patent search. Use SearchQuestPatents.com for all your patent search needs. They scour the world for you.
Hello, and welcome back to the Chairman's Countdown. I'm Zach Mottl, your host, along with John Toomey from the Coalition for a Prosperous America, right here on the Home Talk USA radio network. We're joined today with U.S. Congressman Representative Aaron Beam, and the Congressman serves on the Ways and Means Committee, the most important committee in Congress. And, we want to talk a little bit about what's going on right now with tariffs. That committee handles tariffs, and I think the Congressman has a really unique perspective. There's something going on for our listeners with tariffs. The president put what's called these IEEPA tariffs, these emergency power tariffs out there, and we've raised a lot of money as for America from foreign producers, not out of Americans' pockets, and these things are being used for all kinds of things, but right now it's before the Supreme Court, and there's a little bit of worry, by some of us that what's going to happen with that. Congressman, I'm curious to get your take on what's going on with this as a member of Ways and Means and what you see with the tariff authority and the IEEPA tariffs.
Thank you, Chairman. Listen, the question is, do we have a president with executive authority or do we not? I mean, that's what it all comes down to. We got these rogue judges, they're district judges, and for some reason they think they can have nationwide, and they are because they're getting away with it, nationwide status. So every time they make a ruling, one person, one rogue judge can throw a monkey wrench into everything. So the good news is hopefully this will be settled soon. I think they're going to affirm the president does have that authority to make things happen. And let's be clear what this is, what the tariff what the tariff really, the tool that the president's been using is to bring manufacturing back to America. That's what it is. Since 1990, we've lost over 5 million manufacturing jobs and 90,000 manufacturers, plants, businesses have either shuttered or relocated outside of our country because we just given it away. We haven't fought for it. We haven't been aggressive. And who's going to pay the price is the next generation when we're subservients or slaves to other places that make things. So President Trump understands that and is focused on bringing things back. That's what this one big beautiful bill was really to give immediate expensing for businesses to invest in America, make things in America. We give a tax deduction if you buy an American-made car. We do a lot of things to refocus on America. So that's what's at stake. It's huge. I know your members are key on it. They're the hirers. They're the ones making things, and they want to make more things. So hopefully this will come to an end soon and remove this dark cloud of uncertainty across America.
That's right, Congressman. You've got it exactly. And you know what? We toured, as we mentioned it earlier, something at that wire mesh company. These are companies and companies like mine. We're making decisions. I've been so busy in the last 2 quarters with requests for quote, requests for bid opportunities. Manufacturers large and small are trying to figure out how to bring their supply chains back, how to create those jobs, how to have the national security because we make things again, as well as the wealth. Countries that make things and produce things grow wealthy. You cannot consume your way to prosperity, right? You have to produce, and you get that. But that's what these tariffs are about. I'm really afraid, and what's happened, we've seen, President Trump has done some extraordinary things with the money we've got from these IEEPA tariffs. I don't know if you heard, but he's been making the farmers whole. We don't want these farmers to be victims of bad trade policy either. The Chinese were kind of threatening them on their soybean purchases, but the reality is there's about 500,000 soybean farmers, and you just mentioned millions of manufacturers' jobs. So, we got to protect the farmers, and I think using the tariff revenue to do that is a great idea. I just heard today also that the president is using the tariff revenue to fund the WIC food stamp program, right? This is food for poor people that can't afford to eat, and we've got a government shutdown going on, and the president, in his infinite wisdom and bold moves, is using the tariff revenue for that. Can you imagine if the court restricts this authority? Are we going to take the food out of their mouth and sell it back and then refund it? Checks go back to Chinese importers? Can you imagine this, Congress, refunding billions of dollars to Chinese importers? What would that mean for our economy, and how can Congress prevent that from happening?
It's crazy world, what you just explained. So I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic that everything will be made right, we're made whole, and the focus will come back to our country. That's 100%. I think John Toomey has a thought. What say you, John Toomey?
And I'll just say this. Look, we're running surpluses, $27 billion a month in a surplus. The Treasury, is loving this. And we know that your boss, Chairman Jason Smith, and your great colleagues up there on the Ways and Means Committee will ensure that should anything fall through the cracks, the president is protected and that we don't have to send refund checks to China to the tune of what? $1 trillion? I mean, that's insane.
It is. And that's just the way it's been. And we've accepted it for far too long that we're just going to run deficits. We're going to run trade deficits. We're going to buy things from elsewhere. No more. It's a reset. It's the great American reset led by Donald Trump. It's about time. It's about time. And the next generation will thank us.
And how timely is it, Congressman, that you are on the committee now, right? I know you want to get on this committee. It's great that you're on there. You got Jason at the top of the helm. I mean, that's really a new young blood, new school of thought, understanding the Trump trade doctrine. I mean, the timing couldn't be more perfect to have you guys up there. It's got to be exciting.
Thank you. If you're calling me young, I will accept it as a compliment. Thank you very much. It's been intense. It was an intense ride. We got sworn in on January 3rd. On January 4th, I think we had our first Ways and Means meeting, and we met off campus at an undisclosed location. It rhymes with Library of Congress. You can figure out where we were, but we had very long days, and we got into very heated discussions on the way that we can, where President Trump's position was, where we were, how we could go right. I was as right as you can be, I think, in that committee, and brought everybody right with me a little bit. And I think it's time we get out of the business of picking winners and losers. Let's let the American manufacturers rock and sell, and may the best system win of delivery of supply chain. I think it's an exciting time. That's the bottom line. And if you're part of the CPA, you're right in the thick of it. John Toomey, you're at these meetings. They can last a long time. And when you're there, I think your membership is there. So let's continue the good times, and let's continue to rock this economy.
Oh, thank you, Congressman.
Congressman, very grateful for all your leadership on the committee, and we want to see, you and the chairman have really led, but we need the whole team, right? We want to see some bipartisan support coming along for the party too, because this isn't a partisan thing. This is about jobs and America thing.
Amen. Amen.
And so, listen, Ways and Means, that's the beauty. That's why they are the best committee. They have the jurisdiction over tariffs, taxes, you name it. That is the beauty of being on that committee. Today, there is authority delegated to the administration, and the Commerce Department, the U.S. Trade Office, USTR, has certain powers as well. And so when you look at 232 investigations at the Department of Commerce for reasons of national security, which we see happening right now at the Bureau of Industry and Security, they are going sector by sector and doing investigations saying, hey, what's working, what's not, what does the penetration from imports look like, where do we need to ensure that we have capacity for these essential industries? And so they're working through those industries currently. That is where the action lies today. But the Congress's committee, that is the Committee of Tax and Trade. So there's a beautiful connection between the two. But Commerce right now is doing a lot of work.
And we need Congress to come in and do some more heavy lifting too, and help them out to make sure that this stuff stays strong.
Absolutely. Listen, on a bipartisan basis in the future, I think you'll see legislation on a bipartisan basis going forward.
That's right. But we got to take a quick break here. Again, if you missed the show, see us on demand at Home Talk USA. You can learn more about our work at ProsperousAmerica.org. This is the Chairman's Countdown on the Made in America Radio Hour. We'll see you right after the break.
If you're an inventor, or an inventor out there who would just like to be able to have a conversation with other inventors, join the Inventors Roundtable. It's free. The meetings are virtual, so you can be anywhere in America and talk to another inventor. And for a lot of folks out there, understanding the process, being able to ask questions, getting good service provider information is critical to the inventing process. So, got questions? Want to join? It's free. InventorsRoundtable.org.
Hello, and welcome back to the Chairman's Countdown. I'm Zach Mottl, chairman of the Coalition for a Prosperous America, and we're coming to you right here on the Home Talk USA radio network. Before the break, we were blessed to be joined by Congressman Aaron Bean from Florida's 4th District. Thank you again, Congressman, for your leadership and service. That was really interesting. I know our listeners liked that segment. But we've got a repeat offender coming back on the show again, our friend and the trade counsel for the Coalition for Prosperous America, Charles Benoit. Charles, thanks for being with us here today. I want to talk to you a little bit about what's going on. There's a lot of developments. It's a fast-moving game right now at the Department of Commerce. And, some things happened the last week or so regarding these Section 232 trade investigations and tariffs. Tell us a little bit about what's going on in the big picture over at Department of Commerce.
So, where to begin? Okay, well, what's big picture? They've got over 10, about a dozen investigations that are underway right now that cover huge swaths of the economy. But what's exciting in recent developments is we were thrilled at CPA to see the timber and lumber proclamation. So that was September 29th. And that's an investigation that was an earlier one. It was announced March 1st. And that was, might not sound like lumber, okay, whatever, but it's a perfect example of how it's the entire supply chain. So you start with, it covers timber and lumber and goes down to
cabinets and kitchen vanities, kitchen cabinets. Now, I mean, the headline rates are, it's 10% is the tariff, supplemental 10% on tariff on timber and lumber. Starting January 1st, you'll see 30% on furniture, upholstered furniture, and 50% on cabinets and vanities. So, that's okay, just right off the top. That's nice to see. It's better than a one-size-fits-all approach. It makes sense that the more higher value manufactured items have a higher tariff level, right? So that's good. We like to see that. But the sleeper here that totally missed in all the mainstream media, that one of the things we were really thrilled about is that the proclamation, is paragraph 17, directed Commerce to set up a process whereby manufacturers could petition or request to have their ad valorem tariff converted to a specific or a compound tariff. Now, what does that mean and why is it a big deal? Well, longtime listeners will probably already know, but to recap, a specific, whenever you hear percentage, that's based on a foreign invoice, which is obviously the most easiest thing to manipulate. Yeah, fake left, right, and center. And look, even if the invoice was not fake, they're priced in a foreign currency, which fluctuates. So you typically are. It's very rare you can get good protection from just an ad valorem tariff. Most of these ad valorem tariffs are just revenue tariffs, like all that 25%,
10%, 20%, 15%.
Yeah, it's flooding it's bringing in a great new revenue source for the U.S. Treasury, and we like that, and we celebrate revenue tariffs where it's appropriate to generate revenue. But when we want to really stop imports because we need some protection, other approaches are needed, and so specific tariffs where you're saying, okay, we don't care what your invoice says, but we're just going to, for medical gloves, it's tariff like how many gloves came in. For bicycles, how many bicycles came in, and you set a tariff like $150 a bicycle or what have you. That's a specific tariff.
Or how many pounds of steel, right? We could do by weight. We could do by other methods.
Yes.
Can't be cheated, right? That's the key.
Exactly. The point is how is a tariff getting assessed? A customs officer is counting or weighing what's in front of them.
It's simple.
Simple, exactly.
And that was in the lumber tariff. So that was the first time in a long time they've done these specific.
That's right.
Thank you. Kudos to the people, the Department of Commerce and the administration for the wisdom of this. And I know, Chuck, you're helping a lot with that, making sure they see these little points of the law and they understand how it works in real practice. I got to add that, we have members in these industries and creating jobs here, making things like kitchen cabinets, furniture, and components, again, that go up into it. So thank goodness it covers the whole supply chain. But this is translating into real jobs, real facilities, and real capital investment. I know personally of members investing millions of dollars that employ thousands of people who are so thankful for this protection.
Yeah, well, the American Kitchen Cabinet Alliance, I mean, they've got a great website. Boy, if they've been put through the ringer with anti-dumping, countervailing duties, whack-a-mole. They pay millions of dollars and prove all the damage from Chinese imports. And then once they finally get that tariff relief, the countries just stop. They're like, okay, now it's coming from India, now it's coming from Turkey, and this is why it's just Section 232, global tariffs. That's the way if you're serious about jobs here.
It gives them the certainty to plan, and there's no more game playing. There's no more whack-a-mole with all what we've seen from the foreign predation companies who are trying to take our jobs. What's some of the other Section 232s? I think there's stuff right on medical devices, robotics. Are they thinking about that? People always talk about high-tech manufacturing. I like every job, but let's talk about some of the high-tech jobs.
Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, the low key in these, it's interesting to getting more into more specific fields now. So, I mean, just to recap, people might forget, like August 21st, we had wind turbines and turbine components. And then that's right, September 25th, they announced it, robotics and industrial machinery. And so that'll be a really big one for a lot of CPA members as well. And that's right now, they're in the scope phase. So there you can provide, try to inform how they should think about it. So obviously we're active on that. Let's not forget unmanned aerial drones. So drones is another big one. There's a 232 just on that. And then polysilicon and its derivatives. So polysilicon it's like the core material in computer chips for solar panels. And so those supply chains as well they're still in that scoping phase. And then for steel and aluminum, some big action. We had the first. They wrapped up. Well, not wrapped up, but they closed out the window for the second inclusion round, and just a few days ago the results were posted, and it's getting popular. It's getting popular. So we have about 150 new tariff requests for adding products to the steel and aluminum. We did it. We got a few in there ourselves. Gun safes was actually still not part of the steel 232. A lot of other products. You interviewed Brian Riley from Guardian Bikes. Guardian's got their tariff inclusion out there. It's a wonderful document. You can learn all about how we lost our bicycle industry, and you can comment and support if you're so inclined. So yeah, those are all published now.
That's fantastic, Chuck. And so for the general public listening, yes, you can certainly comment and get involved. For our members who are listening, this is your opportunity to join the table, to get a seat in the discussion and to petition for your own protection on your products that you make here in America. That's why it's called the inclusion process. So, reach out to us and we can help you get into the mix to make sure that you're protected and your jobs, your factories here in America are safe. And, other people listening, other companies listening, company owners want to get involved, reach out to us at prosperousamerica.org, and we can help you with this process, help you get into the mix here, because that's what this is about. Back in the day, Charles, you're a historian on these kind of things. This is how it used to be done, right? The businesses would come to Washington and make a case for jobs, right? Make a case.
Yeah, it's wonderful. If you can go on Google Books or ask your favorite AI, and I encourage people to just skim through the two congressional committees, Ways and Means and Senate Finance. It would take over several months. They would much like we're doing now, the executive and the presidential side, the Department of Commerce is doing, but they would just have hearings and say, okay, this week we're doing metals. Maybe this other week it's going to be agriculture and so on, and they would just. And everyone, come one, come all, submit comments, but specifically industry was encouraged. Tell us what should the tariff rate be? And you didn't have to try to pigeonhole yourself into saying, well, we can prove these damages, and in this one country they're selling below fair cost, whatever the hell that means. No, none of that. Just talk to us. What is it going to take for you to invest more in America? And so I love it. It's all coming together. We've got the inclusion rounds, which, as so far, they just have been about adding products to a 232 action to get whatever the relief happens to be, right? So for steel and aluminum, we got 50% on the metal content, which we don't love, that way of limiting it. But now where they're getting into recommending alternative rates. And if we marry these things, now we're really getting back to how it used to be in the good old days in Congress, where you could just go and have an organic conversation. It's all public, it's out there, anyone can comment on it. This is what tariff makes sense for this product in this industry.
It doesn't have to be a difficult process. I'm a big fan of simple systems. This method, keep it simple. So This is fantastic. And we're getting back to it. And this fits into the broader agenda at the Coalition for Prosperous America, not only reindustrializing America, but bringing the good jobs back. We are fighting every day for American producers, American workers, and American prosperity. We are the only association that represents exclusively domestic producers. So thanks to the administration for making these potential possibilities available. But anyway, we've got to take a quick break here. We're going to go to a commercial, but you can see us on HomeTalkUSA.com. You can learn more about our work at ProsperousAmerica.org. I'm Zach Mottl, the chairman of the coalition, and thank you for joining us. We'll be right back after this quick break.
If you have been searching for a convention to attend where you can network, learn, and grow your business, then ASD Market Week is seriously one of the best ones that you can go to. It is seriously one of the biggest retail and wholesale conventions you can attend to on the US grounds. And I really recommend it because not only are you going to find the new products that you've been looking for your operations, but also meet and network with thousands of individuals that are doing the same exact thing. So highly recommend ASD Market Week, and hopefully to see you guys there.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Chairman's Countdown. I'm Zach Mottl, chairman of the Coalition for the Prosperous America, and your host right here on the Home Talk USA Radio Network. In the segments before the break, we had on Congressman Bean from Florida. We talked a little bit with him about how President Trump is using some of the tariff revenue to make farmers whole, farmers who've been kind of victims from American trade policy lately. But really, are they victims? For my entire lifetime, and there's a bipartisan coalition coming together here on doing trade right and on getting these issues right. But there are people on both sides of the aisle who still get it wrong. In my entire lifetime, there's been a senator in Iowa, Senator Grassley, who's really fought hard for one crop, basically, the soy crop. And from my perspective, the soy crop, and sometimes corn, but maybe not so much, has dominated the discussion. And, when I look at the numbers, it doesn't make sense to me. We've got on right now also with us our trade counsel from the Coalition for Prosperous America, Chuck Benoit. Chuck, when I look at the numbers, at the best, I see that there's about 500,000 people employed in the soy farming industry. That's from the farmer all the way down to the distributor and everybody in the supply chain. And, we've lost, while they've benefited, they've been, deals have been done at the behest of Senator Grassley and people like him for many years to benefit that soy farmer. But we've lost, in contrast, millions of manufacturing jobs. And I think some of the other agricultural industry hasn't done as well either. Charles, what do you think about that? What do you see from your perch?
Yeah, so I actually can't even believe that, all the big globalist interests are propping up soybeans as like the poster victim child again. I mean, this is crazy. So we've seen this story before in the first Trump administration. China they can be ruthless. So after Trump did the original very, very modest, mild Section 301 tariffs, which was still the biggest tariff action that had happened in America in decades, since, probably in 100 years. But so from 2017 to 2018, our U.S. soybean exports to China fell by 74%, from 12.2 billion to 3.1 billion. So yeah, that was a big deal. And we did use, and President Trump did use existing statutory authority he had to take some of the, close to $50 billion a year in new tariff revenue to take care of the people who lost their exports. And I mean, that was like, everyone kind of supports that, right? I mean, it's like, wow, because, they were really targeted. But what's interesting is that China couldn't sustain that blockage. So we kept the tariffs. Famously, President Biden kept President Trump's China tariffs when he came in 2021 rather. So what happened? Oh, turns out China couldn't sustain their ban, and by 2022,
they've got to eat, don't they?
They got to eat, and they don't want to pay more. They're not in the business of spiting their nose long term. So Biden was in. There was no point. They're like, okay, whatever. Back to buying U.S. soybeans, and so in 2022, the U.S. soybean exports to China were at a record 17.8 billion, so way higher than they'd been at the 12.2 billion before the trade war, and we kept the tariffs.
Right.
So now China's like back to the old playbook. So okay,
they just farming hostage.
And that's the media headline, is the farmers are hurting. No. It's the soybean exports to China have been cut again. Which look, I mean, sorry, like if you're still counting on exports to China as your, like if that's your business model, I mean, people gamble on all sorts of things. But anyway, let's just put that aside there. But what we have to.
Is there anybody else that eats soy in the world, right? Is it a fungible crop? And if they're going to buy them from Brazil, who was buying Brazil's before?
Yeah,
they still need soybeans, don't they?
I would not personally invest in a business that's entirely export dependent on China. That would not be my plan. And one where we have a recent example of where your customer will just walk away and 100%. But look, there's one thing we can do today. It's like to educate. The tariffs are not hurting farmers. Okay, globalization has hurt farmers and ranchers and wiped them out. So our colleague Andrew Reschenberg, he put out a great report earlier this year that shows just we've lost 312,000 family farms since 1997. But what I really love that he did in this report is he goes, we go through all of these crops. Senator Grassley, he does talk a lot about corn, a ton about corn, and he's been in Congress since he's been a senator since the 90s. He's gotten every trade deal he wanted. He wanted Korea, Panama, Colombia, and he has always promised this is going to be great for our exports. What's striking is we've added 58 million people to the U.S. population. Okay, so we're a much bigger country. This is since the year 2000. So in 25 years, we've added almost 60 million people. It's a lot more mouths to feed. You would think, our population has grown by this much. Surely we're, producing that much more food commensurate with our population growth.
Right.
No, our production and our exports are going down. Okay, so for corn, which is what Senator Grassley does love and champion to the exclusion of every other industry and all the other farmers and ranchers. Our exports have basically held steady. I mean, they go down a lot of years, but most recently around 60 million metric tons, not unlike what it was after NAFTA and the WTO Uruguay round, which liberalized a lot of agricultural trade. So just total flops, and it's a disaster. We became a net food importer in 2023 so that's just writ large. And then that if you just look at the deficit, okay, so now we're now a deficit country on food. Red alert. But in fact,
great nation, how is it we can't even feed ourselves?
If you can't even feed yourself, but that just looking at that macro number masks how bad it is, because what is actual food? Protein, fat, fiber, okay, meat, vegetables. The stuff that makes us actually nutrition. That's a catastrophe. Okay,
our rancher friends would tell us that the imports are hurting them too. And so again, this whole way we've done this policy for 20 years, trading manufacturing for exports and farm, they should never have pitted. Shame on these senators and congresspeople that pitted manufacturers against farmers. Shame on them for promising exports that don't even exist, right? That don't add up. What we need to be doing is producing more of what we consume in this country. We've offshored food production, right? So we're not making the food, we're not growing. We've went into deficit in nearly every category of crop, vegetable, fruit, tomatoes, celery, all these things. And our rancher friends, again, say, if we would just block the imports of the beef and cattle coming in here, that we could actually make ourselves whole and produce more beef and cattle to feed Americans. So the whole way we've been doing this needs to be tossed out the window. Kudos to the new generation, not only the current Trump administration, but people on both sides of the aisle who are willing to look at this and think critically and do it differently, because that's what we need. That's absolutely what we need. But anyway, our hour is coming to an end here. Thank you, Charles, for your insights. And thank you again to Congressman Bean for spending the time to be with us today, and to John Toomey, my partner here, the president of the Coalition for Prosperous America. Please, we are at the Coalition. We are fighting every day for American producers, American workers, and American prosperity. Happy to be with you today on the Home Talk USA Radio Network. Check us out on prosperousamerica.org. See you next time. Thank you.